everybody, and welcome back to the WTF1 podcast, the most boring Grand Prix 2022 edition. But you best believe that usually when we have boring races, that tends to be the longest podcast. So maybe, fingers crossed, Katie has some kind of 45-minute FIA rant in her, but I'm not sure anything really went on. We are also joined by Team WTF1 live. Oh, yes, we are live. They're actually in our living room right now. And big shout out to you if you've joined us live on Team WTF1. And this podcast is also once again sponsored by Elgato, our season-long partners, and making us almost sound like professionals with this great equipment. And making me do race rundown really well in Internet's Best Reactions as well, if you saw that. Crisp quality.
Lovely stuff.
And now the final shout out, and the one that I enjoy the most, mainly because it's an ego boost for all of us. And that's when you give us a 5-star review. And if you do submit a 5-star review, we choose one at random. Well, not random. Tommy chooses one of the good ones, I'm assuming, at 5 stars. And we shout them out in the podcast. This one is from Flying Emu 11. From the New Zealand.
You can tell it was the UK last time, and I just replaced UK with New Zealand. My bad.
Tommy knows I'm Ron Burgundy and just reads everything that I see. This comes in from Flying Emu. The best podcast ever is my first words. Every day I wake up and look on Apple Podcasts to see if the best F1 podcasters have uploaded a new one of their great show. These guys are funny and very knowledgeable. WTF1 has made me an F1 fan I am today. Love your show. Thank you.
Thank you.
A flying emu. Like we really are hitting every demographic, aren't we? So big thank you for those kind words. Not so kind words are coming now towards the Mexico City Grand Prix. Let's get some 3-word race reviews in from fans. Hannes_Bloma, 2-hour nap. AK Ronas Zegi, Happy Papa Perez, Alec Jax _17, boring, but Danny, and
Katie's burner account,
and Sash Van Page, Verstappen 14 wins. Of course, you got that one in there, Tommy, didn't you?
Always.
Yeah, no surprise there. Something about Verstappen all the time. No, fair enough. Max was very good. Yes, of course. I don't think we're going to talk much about how boring it was because, yes, it was dull. I've seen a few people out there, clearly closeted Danny Rick fans that have said, what are you talking about? That was a great race. What world was that a great race? Yes, there was a little bit of action in the middle, but we'll get into that. We're going to start with my 3-word race review. And it is Mercedes are Ferrari? ? Now, I'm not trying to bait everyone. I'm not saying Mercedes are anywhere near the level of what Ferrari have done in terms of bottling the 2022 season, although, to be fair, they don't have the pace. But then you could say not developing their car is also a bottle. Anyway, let's talk about Mercedes. P2 and P3 on the grid. They were looking rather lovely. We were all hyping them up, weren't we, going into the race? Oh, Verstappen's not going to lead. Look at the length of the straight. Oh, they're going to fly past. That didn't happen. And Mercedes still had a great opportunity, in my opinion, to win the race. But they decided to go on mediums as opposed to the softs that Red Bull did. Yes, the benefit of hindsight makes us all experts. But the question that me and Tommy made immediately on the live stream we do for the race watch along on WTF1 Official, if you don't follow us already, was that we questioned why didn't they go on separate strategies? Why didn't they do one strategy for one driver and a different one for another? But they didn't. They went with medium hards for both. And I feel like that was a mistake.
I think you might be right there. It was certainly an odd strategy and one that many have been left confused by, including Red Bull. Apparently, Hamilton's first thought when he saw the tyre blankets come off of the Red Bull to reveal the Red Bull Pirellis was, oh, bleep. Obviously, I can't swear on this one. So, yeah, Mercedes knew as soon as those tyre blankets came off that maybe they had not really made the best call there. I mean, Hamilton at the start, he was hanging on to Verstappen. Things looked to be going well. But like you say, the strategy that they had just wasn't the one. And although, you know, we're used to hearing Hamilton especially maybe complain about the tyre choices that have been made or his tyres falling away or whatever, I think TV Direction just choose to play that because I'm sure all the other 19 drivers on the grid are having similar conversations with their, you know, pit wall. But I think in this case, it was probably a fair comment to make because, yeah, like you said, you know, there was probably one of the best potentials there to get a victory, but it didn't work out. So a bit silly.
Yeah, I think if Hamilton had done the strategy of medium soft, or maybe gone on the same as Max, would he have been able to pass? We'll go into what we think about the Mexican Grand Prix circuit later. We don't know, but it certainly wouldn't have been, what was it, 15 seconds or whatever he finished behind him, like a long way, and never got close. It was not the right thing to do, clearly. I can't believe that. I know Mercedes had it set that that's what they were going to do from the start, but I'm really surprised he didn't do a bit of sort of thinking on their feet and changing the calculations, because, even Russell said, let's go soft at the end. I mean, if there was any evidence that you needed,
any
evidence you needed, sorry, it was a late night. I was doing,
get that coffee in you, lad.
I know, but Ferrari, we know how bad Ferrari are on their tyres. They started on the soft tyres and were absolutely fine. When Ferrari are fine on a soft tyre, you know that the tyre wear is not bad at all. And I can't believe that Mercedes didn't just, particularly when they stayed out longer, just extend it, maybe go for the softs at the end, but to put the hards on, especially with both cars. I mean, Russell, you're fourth if you do it, you're fourth if you don't, because Ferrari were just out of it. It's just baffling to me. And it seems like a really missed opportunity when they had nothing to lose.
Yes, they've kind of gone with the belief that those mediums were going to fall off, right? And
good luck.
The questionable thing there is, why hedge your bets with both cars with the same thing and hoping that the mediums are going to fall off, when it was quite clear that the tyre degradation wasn't that bad. I mean, Sebastian Vettel went 35 laps, I think, on the soft tyres. So he did a great little stint. But it doesn't make any sense to me. And I know we say hindsight, etc., but they have nothing to lose. They're trying to beat Ferrari, sure, in the constructors, but they need to win. And as you say, Tommy, fourth was going to be the worst they'd get anyway. And thinking on their feet was definitely something that I'm very surprised they didn't do with Russell. Russell, as you say, made the call. He said,
he was
I want
for a
to
pit
go.
stop.
Interesting description. He really wanted to go on the soft tyres at the end. And if we look at Danny Rick, who has had one of the most difficult seasons, if not the most difficult season of his career. Katie's still trying to stifle a laugh for audio listeners. And Danny Rick finished best of the rest, even with a 10-second penalty going medium soft.
Yeah, it was the one, wasn't it?
Proof. And I think even George Russell said, didn't he, after the race, that there was potentially a mistake made there. But it is such a missed opportunity for Mercedes. They had to do something different. They couldn't just stick with their guns. The hard tyres wasn't something we expected to see anyway, really, as a preferential strategy. So, I think Mercedes will probably have some regrets. Let's go into a question from Team WTF1 member Jaxie96. But before we do that, Tommy, what do you want to say?
I was just going to say that it's funny that Mercedes were really waiting for, obviously, Max's tyres to fall off, and you could tell that they didn't want to tell Hamilton that they'd made the wrong decision the entire race. And we're kind of like, oh, don't worry, his tyres are going to fall off. There's an interesting post that someone put on F1 Reddit, and they've actually shared Verstappen's lap times throughout the entire race. And he pitted on lap 27 for mediums, and he did, apart from lap 65 and 66, when there was a virtual safety car, from lap 27 to 71, he did a 122 every single lap without fail. They were never going off. The consistency.
And Verstappen is the GOAT. No, he's not the GOAT.
Quick, clip it.
The GOAT of this year.
Yeah.
The greatest.
Yeah, exactly. You need to... Greatest of the year. Yeah, exactly. They needed to do something different and gamble, but not with the hards to get to sort of beat Verstappen, because I mean that consistency is just a joke.
Yeah, and I think you were saying as well when we were doing the watch along, Tommy, that Mercedes said that they would gladly sacrifice one driver's race to try and win. George Russell out there could have at least tried to hold Verstappen up a little bit if Max caught him up in the last few laps of his medium stint before he went on the softs. But how quickly Danny Rick went at the end, I have to question whether there was more there. Of course, Danny Rick's coming through slower cars than what Max Verstappen is, and who knows? I don't think George Russell could have won the race, but he certainly could have beaten Sergio Perez, in my opinion, if not beaten Hamilton as well. So, yeah, it's all ifs and buts, unfortunately, but it just feels like it was a very conservative strategy for a team that is desperate to get a victory this year. Very strange. Let's go to Jack C96's question. Why were Mercedes so conservative with their tyre strategy in this race? They had nothing to lose championship-wise. So surely starting one car on the softs and or letting Russell go on to them at the end would give them a better result and made the race a damn sight more interesting. Exactly. That as well, Jack. You know, why not for the entertainment, Mercedes? Ferrari were so far off the pace, they were never an issue. Why not try something different? I found it very strange with Russell, to be honest with you. But we've kind of covered it. Moving on to Ethan Badowski. Does Lewis's lack of a win to this point say more about Red Bull's dominance or the shortcomings of the W13? I think it says more about Max Verstappen than it does maybe Red Bull's dominance, because if you take Max Verstappen out of the equation, Hamilton's won a few races this year.
I know Max has won every race that Hamilton's been second, I believe, just off the top of my head. So yeah, exactly. If you take him out of it.
Well, no one else has really won a race this year, Tommy. He's won 14 of them. So
yeah, true. But it is the case of, like you say, it's not Red Bull aren't finishing first and second every race, and the best you can hope for is third.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, the first half of the season, the W13 was just pretty much a write-off, but I think it is a mix of both. The strategy hasn't helped, but Red Bull and Max have just been a bulletproof combination. So, yeah, pity anyone that's going to try and go up against that.
Yeah,
certainly.
Nothing more to add, really. I just same as you, but of course, I was going to say that it is more Max Verstappen, and he's just found that perfect. At one with his car, even frighteningly, probably even more so than Hamilton was at Mercedes, which is quite scary that he's just so dominant. And now, he's got that win record of 14 wins in the season, wins the last two. He'd have the best percentage as well, which to get that win percentage when the season is so long is actually unbelievably impressive. And it's very ominous for the rest of the performance, because we were saying in 2021, even 2022, I think you could go back to 2022 and what Max was doing in that Red Bull when it was nowhere near the Mercedes.
2022.
Sorry, 2020.
We're in 2022.
Go back to 2020.
Hello, Tommy.
When we go back to 2020 and Max was in the Red Bull and he was finishing third or second or sometimes sneaking the odd win, we were saying on the podcast, what's it going to be like when he's older, wiser, and has a dominant car?
Stronger, faster.
And oh my word, is it dominance, like insane dominance. He's 31 points behind Mercedes in the Constructors' title on his own.
That's insane, isn't it? That's absolutely insane. So Hamilton's had 4 second places this year, and he has been behind Verstappen every single time. France, Hungary, USA, and Mexico. So, that would have been 4 wins had it not been for Verstappen's utter brilliance. So we have to give him his props when needed. Right. Speaking of props, we need to give some more to another driver as we move over to Daniel Ricciardo's biggest fan, correspondent on the ground, Katie Fairman. Was it fair?
It was fair, man. It was, the penalty, 10 seconds, wasn't the greatest of things. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh my gosh, it was amazing, the best drive he's ever done, because he did wipe Yuki Tsunoda out of the race. Although, the move you might say is, I think Ricciardo said like maybe 60-40 or 70-30. He was the one that got the penalty for it. And it's never nice to see it.
100-0.
But it's never nice to see an incident where one of the drivers gets taken out. So that's unfortunate. But having said that, the 10-second penalty obviously stirred something with Danny Ric and obviously the strategy. And it just felt really good to see Daniel going for it, unleashing the honey badger once again. Tom Stallard, his race engineer, tweeted a great meme. I don't know if you've seen it. It's of some like weird Barney the dinosaur thing coming out of
that one tweet
bush.
of the week last week, I think it was about Vettel. I think it was Hoomster's awake and that one.
Yeah,
it's great.
It was great tweet there from Tom. But it's genuinely like so good to see Daniel really like having a good car underneath him that he can get the potential out of, and also a strategy where he hasn't been mugged off. So the two of them just meant that we actually got to see a bit of old school Daniel Ricciardo. I'm not going to say it's like Daniel's remembered how to drive, because I stand by the fact that he always knows what he needs to do and he's doing it. But unfortunately, just like the man machine vibes just isn't working for him at McLaren. But yeah, really awesome, and just glad that he did it, because it was a bit of entertainment, if anything else.
It certainly was. He carried the entire race on his back, really, just for a few overtakes. I think with Daniel Ricciardo, it's an interesting one because, yes, he has been given the short straw a lot of times over the course of this season in terms of strategy, mainly because he's been slow and therefore not had the preferred strategy. And I think almost McLaren getting it wrong with Lando and putting Danny Ric on a different strategy worked in his favor for once in his life, where he went from the mediums to the softs, and how quick those soft tires was brilliant for him. And he managed to pass so many cars from, I think he was at maybe 11th, and then it all got the way all up to all the way up to 7th. Yeah. Lando let him through, which was obviously good from Lando, and then Danny just absolutely sped off and then cleared the rest of the pack by 10 seconds, which is something we have not said about Daniel Ricciardo for a very long time. So it did fill my heart with a lot of warmth and a lot of love to see Danny Ric back there, best of the rest. But yeah, I think it just shows that, yes, Danny Ric has been pretty woeful at times this season, but I think McLaren have also not done the best they possibly could with his strategy at times, and it's shown. But yeah, it's nice to see him get a P7, and we can bask in the glory of this. We don't need to talk about the rest of the season right now. P7, go on the Danny. You may have yeeted Yuki Tsunoda out the way, but he knew he was that quick. He could just drive off. So he was like, get out the way, Yuki.
It's so funny that two people in that race, and we're going to Gasly later, essentially their races were so much better because they just yeeted someone out the way, got a penalty, and just drove off, which maybe is going to be the tactic from now on. But yeah, it was nice to see Danny Ric back to a point, and the last 20 laps he provided all the entertainment. Seen the video online where he was giving the finger guns to the Alpine before he was about to overtake it, so he was clearly loving life, and it's good that.
Yeah, I think we need to dive into that slightly more there, Tommy. That the man was in the slipstream of another car,
and was like doing a finger point, like the shooting, like pew,
with his right hand, and I'm like, who's this guy? Is this the Danny Ric we used to know?
It's the old Danny Ric, isn't it?
Like,
it was nice to
see
it,
and how miserable he was after the race in Kota.
Absolutely,
like what a contrast! It just shows
that's why it's so
like
good.
Formula One is like you can go from being in the absolute worst place. Absolute blinder. So sorry.
Yeah, you froze there. Sorry. I
froze. Okay, great.
No, we heard what you said. Don't worry.
Yeah, we heard what you said. But yeah, the fact that he'd had that absolute nightmare in Kota, and it was like, this could be the end of his career. Like, we'll never see another even smile. This is really sad, but never even see another smile from Danny Ric, because it seemed like he just completely lost the. It just lost all his love for Formula One after Austin and whatever. But it's awesome to see that had such a great race, and to see him sort of pulling those moves. Slightly miffed that he took out Yuki, of course, but
Primal.
We'll see. When he gets an F from me in WTF1, you'll know why.
Hera9590 asks, why was Danny given a 10-second penalty, whereas George only got a 5-second penalty for the same kind of incident? This is an interesting one, a hot topic of debate, I think. Well, let's break down. Let's break down who, me or the stewards? Let's break down the Danny Ric Tsunoda one first. I think that was a pretty terrible driving from Danny, really. Yuki did open the door slightly, but it doesn't warrant Danny Ric just sticking a nose in around the corner. He was never owed that racing room. That was purely relying on Yuki thinking Danny's going to dive bomb me. I'll give him some space, which shouldn't have really happened in the corner as slow as that.
If he'd got the traction out of that corner when he did the switchback, and because I watched it back, if he'd have got the traction, he was alongside him, you go, well, of course Yuki wouldn't turn in, but he was never remotely alongside
He was
down
only
that
alongside
mini straight, wasn't
when
he?
he hit him.
Yeah,
basically.
when he hit the brake. So yeah.
So I think 10-second was absolutely warranted. The George Russell Sainz one, I can sort of understand in terms of, obviously, first and foremost, the stewards are not supposed to take into account the consequence. It's just the incident. And I suppose they look at that lap 1, turn 1. It was more, I don't think George was ever trying to overtake Carlos Sainz. That's the difference there, is that there's an understanding that it was a bit like unfortunate that Carlos tried to sweep back and sort of came across as George locked up, where I think it's more the intention and the fact that it was just a very small mistake from George, which, yeah, of course, was a massive problem for Carlos Sainz, and it meant he didn't finish the race. But that part isn't taken into account. It's literally just the fact that George locked up and made contact with the Ferrari. 5-second did feel a little bit lenient for me but then you take into account Carlos being out of the race. I can understand why they gave it 5 seconds personally.
Yeah, they're always more lenient on the first lap collision, so I guess that was part of it. And yeah, I don't want to go in on Danny Rick because I've just been praising him and it was an awesome drive. But yeah, the move was absolutely awful. Like, it was so poor. Like, it was such a bad overtake.
Was going to happen as well.
Yeah, it was why he didn't just wait for the DR. Like, his pace advantage was insane, that he would have easily got him in DRS because or any other corner, but that is not an overtaking spot. So yeah, it was poor from Danny Rick, but then obviously it lit a fire in him and he got a car out the way and then just thought, right, I need a 10-second gap. Here we go. I'm on soft tires. Let's go for it. And it was cool to see.
Yeah, no, I think, comparing the penalties between Daniel and George last week, like you say, I think the FIA took into consideration that Russell's was first lap, turn 1 incident. Drivers have got a lot going on, however many cars around them, trying to focus on what's going on ahead. Whereas for Daniel, it was just him and Yuki on track. So yeah, I imagine that's probably why there's slightly different penalties.
Yeah, heavy car, cold tires, all sorts of stuff. So
yeah.
Next question. Ooh, splat ooh. How can you get driver of the day when taking another car out? Because no one else really
because no one did anything.
Bottas lost positions, so that was the only thing I really remember seeing. The race winner never gets driver of the day because I don't think we saw Verstappen the entire race. So how can you give driver of the day to a car we only saw cross the line at the end? No, I think Danny Rick still deserved driver of the day. It was a mistake, sure, but he did an amazing cut through the field and managed to extend the 10 seconds. Of course, you've got to remember, driver of the day doesn't get you any points. It's just a bit of fun and it's a fan vote, and everyone was happy to see Danny Rick do well. So there you go.
I must admit, I voted for Daniel as driver of the day. Shock.
Wow, you were part of the problem.
I am. But yeah, I think it's a valid question. But like you say, I think there was just very little to go on with what other drivers were doing. I don't think it's anything to do with TV direction. I think it's just a dull track and just not much overtaking or anything like that. So when we saw Daniel pop on those softs and zoom past all these other cars, it was like, oh, okay, well, he's actually doing something with his time, so I'll give him my vote.
I don't think I've ever voted for driver.
I was about to say the same.
Have you not?
No, too busy. Always
the founder.
Always
juggling all of these things.
Yeah, no.
If I remember to do it, I'll do it. But
yeah, how can driver? Yeah, I mean, like we said earlier, he was the only one actually doing anything. It was quite funny in our Twitch chat actually, because we have a shaking Mattia Binotto like emoji, a Twitch emote, and we were getting everyone to spam it in the chat to try and hope something would happen because the race was so terrible. And no word of a lie, as soon as people started spamming, oh god, it must have been all of about a minute before Danny Rick.
Not even that. Yeah,
it was crazy.
Bearing in mind as well that we were about a minute or two behind watching as well. So I think the minute the first Mattia Binotto emote went in the chat, Danny Rick dive bombed Tsunoda. Yeah. We channeled Mattia Binotto energy and power into throwing people's races, and we didn't get a safety car, but it was a good try, wasn't it?
Worth a shot.
This episode is also sponsored by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/WTF1 and get on your way to being your best self. Navigating any of life's challenges can make you feel unsure, whether it's a career change, a new relationship, or becoming a parent. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. I myself have tried therapy before and I absolutely recommend it. It changes your life for the better. It allows you to just take that weight off of your shoulders and to be able to move forward with problems in your life. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with a therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/WTF1. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/WTF1. Okay, Tommy. We're flying through this podcast. I feel like it's going to be a.
Can you tell that it wasn't a great race and the FIA didn't screw up?
Yeah, I know. No Katie run. Shocking. Tommy, what's your 3-word race review?
Mine is Mexico deserves better, and this is about the circuit, which, in my opinion, you like vibes 10 out of 10. The crowd 10 out of 10. Mariachi
Checo's
band
dad.
10 out of 10. Checo's dad. Love it. Love the vibes.
F1, can we just talk about the F1
Car
Mexican
elevator
theme tune very quickly?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
How good is that F1 Mexican theme tune? I literally, it was after the race as well. We're all feeling a bit deflated. What a terrible race. Then the music started playing. I was the greatest day of my life again. I was like, sorry, carry on, Tommy.
But yes, the circuit, if you just take it as a track map, it's probably top 3 of the worst. It's absolutely awful. Like genuinely an absolutely hideous track layout. It is.
That's how you really feel.
It's such a shame. And yeah, the reason that I did the 3-word race review, Mexico deserves better, because the fans are amazing. It's such a great party atmosphere, and we've just never really had a good race there. And you look at the circuit, and it's 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn, 90-degree turn. Boring. It's like Tilke at its worst, where they do really slow sections that are for the fans, which is great because they get to see the cars for a long time. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm old school, but even if I went to a circuit, I don't want to see cars going slow. I go to Formula One to see fast cars. So it's just a terrible circuit and I absolutely hate it. And I think they should change it and give the Mexican fans a better circuit.
Wow, God, someone's put some truth serum in Tommy's coffee this morning. Yeah, I have to agree that Mexico, the circuit needs changing. I feel like small changes could actually improve it quite a lot. I think that, turns 2 and 3, you will have seen a video on the YouTube channel, actually, which is coming out very soon. Just me talking about what I would change, but I'm going to talk to you about it right now as well. Turns 2 and 3, get rid of it. Why have we got the chicane? No, just put it in the bin. Instead, have a hard braking zone into turn 1, which leads straight onto the next straight with another dose of DRS. It then lengthens the straight, allowing for more opportunity and overtaking and dive bombs into there. And because all that chicane does is shorten that part of the straight, and that means DRS is pretty much useless. Although we do see a couple of opportunities in there, but if you have a longer straight, we'll have even more opportunities. So I would do that. I would lessen the angle of turn 5, so then you've got the mini straight, then the left, and then the right just before the Yuki Daniel incident. That turn 5 is very, very awful. It's just the most awkward. It just looks horrendous. Like we're not even in the car and I'm just watching the cars go around there and it's just horrendous. So just lessen the angle through there, which allows a bit more speed to go through there. And then maybe someone can do a Danny Rick dive bomb into turn 6. But instead, Danny Rick was forced to do a dive bomb he wasn't forced, but he did a dive bomb in a place that shouldn't have happened. Also, the S's, put some gravel in there. They are the least, that has got the least jeopardy in the world, those S's. I don't know if it's the camera angle as well. The camera angles through there are terrible. It doesn't give you any sense of how difficult those S's are. All we get to see are replays of Charles Leclerc being 45 degrees, and I go, oh my God, no, not again. But those S's need gravel, in my opinion. I don't know if because of safety they don't have them or that they just love tarmac. I don't know. But I would love to see gravel there. It gives a bit more jeopardy for if someone makes a mistake. And then finally, the stadium section, I know why it's slow, as Tommy said. It's so that the fans get to see the cars for longer, so that they can charge £1 million per ticket. But again, I actually don't enjoy really seeing cars go slowly. I don't know if it's just me. Let us know in the comments if you're also an F1 fan that wants to see them go flying past you rather than mew, mew, mew. And it's like 40 miles an hour through the most awkward section of it's literally.
It's not spectacular
bad.
at all.
No, it's not spectacular.
They're struggling for traction. It's just.
And I will happily support what you said, Tommy, I think in the stream or maybe on Twitter, I can't remember what you did, but in that stadium section, I think it's worse than the Barcelona last chicane. For how just horrible it is for cars to go through there. I know it's amazing to have the amphitheater and I love the vibes and whatnot, and I know they probably do it for safety as well. You can't have the cars flying through there at 180 miles an hour because if there's a crash, they could end up in the blooming Colosseum or whatever.
They've got like picnic benches there and stuff, haven't they? And like a bar area. So
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So look, as a racetrack, I understand there's a commercial side to it as well, and get it, but there's so much they could do with it. It just require a few small tweaks, and maybe we'll have a better Mexico City Grand Prix.
Perhaps, like you say, the track just doesn't allow for any overtaking. There's like the big sense of jeopardy going into turn 1 down that long straight, but after that, it's fairly routine and pretty dull. I will say though, Formula E alert, whoop, whoop, but when I used to cover Formula E, Mexico was like always one of my favorite tracks on the calendar because it always delivered a banger of a race. Whether that was I think it was 2017 was one of the crazier ones. 2 teammates coming together in that stadium section. It was really good. And then from the years after that, it was always a good race.
I can see why.
Yeah.
It's a completely different circuit.
It's a different circuit. But this is it.
It's not the same. Yeah.
But it can be done.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
it's only half the circuit, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like a mini oval. It looks like the thing you hang on your door, like a do not disturb thing in a hotel. Look at the circuit map and tell me that's not what it is. But yeah, it looks like that. So basically, Formula E layout.
Yeah, but I mean, if it would probably make the times even shorter.
It'd be a 30-second lap.
Yeah, it'd be like sprint, but made for some great racing. So who knows? Just try it.
Katie, you're actually on something there because the main thing is that people don't get to see the stadium. Like the cars are slow that they want the stadium. There's gonna be like 600 laps if it's a 30.
Yeah,
they'll see them all the time, so they can't complain about not getting value for money. Then perfect, Katie, you've nailed it. Formula E circuit next year, please.
Yeah, let's do it.
Bring your besties at the FIA. Sure, they'll answer the phone.
Yeah, they're definitely Katie's besties. I just want to say on a completely irrelevant note, we're all wearing black. Happy Halloween. This was accidental, but here we are. For all your listeners, there you go. Right. Next question. I think we've kind of covered Kid Justice 21s, which was what changes to the track would you make to improve the racing? The stadium section is a big problem, they say. Completely agree. Any other changes either of you would make for that?
Yeah.
Mariachi bands.
Dig up and start again.
Wow. Fair. I mean, I'm sure they have enough money just to do that.
Keep the cool podium though.
Maybe we get the sea closer as well. Like 2,250 meters away is a bit it's not good for slipstream, is it? So
dig down, have it in a big in the ground. They go underground. Well, they've already got the pop up thing, so they could just do the opposite where they all go down.
Yeah.
Perfect. Look, we're onto something.
Why did the FIA never contact us?
Team WTF1 member E flat major. Were the tyre compounds C4 to C2 selected for this race too soft, given that the whole grid had their heads in their hands on tyres and forgot to think about racing and excitement? Do you mean too hard? Pretty sure they were too hard.
Too hard, yeah.
Yeah, not too soft. Yeah. Yes, I think
maybe they mean too lenient in terms of soft.
Maybe. But George Russell, I think, said that there should have been one step the other way. So
yeah, absolutely.
Did he? I feel like he actually may have said they wanted them harder, so that then there would have been less of an offset or something between.
I think either way, there needs to be some more jeopardy between the tires because it's so hard to overtake. I mean, this kind of goes back to the circuit thing, but how Sergio Perez could not pass Hamilton when he was that much quicker just shows how bad this circuit is for passing and stuff. And, if we had maybe a bigger gap between the tires, so as soon as, Daniel Ricciardo is a perfect example. He was on soft tyres when everyone else was on worn tyres, and it was great. So, if there's half the grid doing that, then you get a much more exciting race, don't you?
Little C1, C3, C5.
Lovely.
Then no one would use the C5s, and it would just be the C1 and the C3.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. Which one's the softest? C5.
C4.
I think.
Oh, yeah,
C4.
C5.
C5. Yeah.
C5.
Okay, so no one would use the C1. Anyway, that's confusing for some people. But yes, those are the tyre steps of compound that we're talking about. But it was the C4 to C2 that were selected for this particular race. We want to see two-stop strategies. I think that's the dream, isn't it? We don't want to be seeing soft tyres going 35 laps and things like that, because it just ruins that element of strategy. There's been lots of talk over the years about, why don't we force two-stop strategies and things like that? No, just make the tyres degrade fast enough so that they have to do two-stop strategies. That's what we want to see. Next question, Septimus_II. Will Gasly change his driving to account for his penalty points? No, I think if anything, he'll have to just yeet someone off, take Abu Dhabi off.
The L.
Yeah, just cross the pit exit line twice in Brazil. Do a Yuki. If you're having a terrible race, especially, get banned for Abu Dhabi, early holiday. You get someone in.
Nick De Vries can get his early debut.
Nick De Vries can have a nice little Abu Dhabi outing. Perfect.
So Brazil, Gasly's got to do something.
But I'm not sure AlphaTauri would allow that, considering they want points and Gasly's going to Alpine next year. So I highly doubt they care. If anything, they would want him to preserve those 10 penalty points for next year when AlphaTauri are fighting Alpine, and then maybe he gets banned. Big brain strats.
Smart. That is big brain strats. I mean, so Gasly's on 10 penalty points at the moment. Some might argue he should be on 11, because the move that he had with Stroll yesterday was forcing another driver off the track, which is punishable by 2 penalty points, and we're taking him up to 11. But he only got one. Because the FIA.
Is it? Do you remember when I read that piece that was like, we'll never see a FIA ban? Do you remember I read that piece that was like, we'll never see a ban? And I said, as soon as someone gets to the threshold where they nearly do, they'll be more lenient and they'll change the rules. There you go.
You watch. Gasly will get to 11 in Brazil, and then it'll be just like the WTF1 podcast. He'll wipe someone out and they'll go, half a point.
It's true. I don't understand it. But I don't think any of these drivers will change their driving styles. If anything, they'll probably go back to the FIA and say, listen here, mate, half of the things that you've given me penalty points for are stupid. You need to change the system. I don't need to change, because these drivers don't think that there's anything wrong with them, which is just some of the ways that the drivers have to think. They got to be all about them, big ego, that kind of thing. But yeah, it is concerning that he's so close, but no, he won't change his driving style at all to change that. So
the concerning thing as well is how long it is till it resets.
I know.
22nd of May, 2023. And as we said, he's got to race Ocon as a teammate for that as well. So, not looking great for Gasly. I mean, if you look at the reasons why, in this wonderful article by Katie Fairman about why people have their penalty points. But Spain, he got 2 for a collision with Stroll. Austria, he got 2 for a collision with Vettel. So, 2 points for all the collisions. 1 point in Austria for leaving the track without justifiable reason multiple times, 2 in Japan for speeding under red flag, and 2 in America for the safety car infringement, and then 1 for Mexico. So not looking great for Gasly.
I guess technically it wasn't contact, was it, with Stroll? So it was just forcing a driver off the track, which
maybe they thought it was a bit more lenient. But again, it is that thing of you just absolutely send it, do an illegal overtake, and then he had 5 seconds in the bag by like 4 laps. It's just actually so much easier.
It wasn't quite that quick, but it was. He was
nothing
clear
going
for it.
on either. Yeah. Why did it take the FIA so long to decide a thing? Maybe they were just
penalties is the way.
Stretching it out
so much
because they were
going on.
Yeah, there's nothing else happening. I'm just going to take ages deciding this one, because we'll probably not get anything else for the rest of the race.
Look, things that are so slam dunk like that, I just think they should get on the blower and go, give the place back. Like, that's what you should have to do. it just doesn't make much sense, because if you're a much faster car, you can just do what you want. I know he didn't mean to, he locked up, but he can just decide to drive off, and that's more beneficial to his race than giving the position back. But that's just me and wanting to see more racing, probably. Moving on now to Jones RF873. What's up with Alonso's luck? Alonso has had horrendous luck this year. There has actually been a list of all the things that have gone wrong with him this year, which I'll run you through.
I've got the list. Have you got it?
I've got the list. Yeah.
It's insane.
So Alonso's 2022 season. In Bahrain, he had an engine problem. In Saudi, he had an engine problem. First DNF. In Australia, he had a hydraulic failure in qualifying. Bad luck with safety car in the race. This is from Joseki 100 on Reddit, by the way. In Imola, it was hit by Schumacher, second DNF. In Miami, slow pit stop, loses points with 2 ridiculous post-race penalties. In Spain, traffic in last qualifying attempt and gets 4th engine. Canada, engine problem, bad luck with 2 virtual safety cars, loses points with a ridiculous penalty. In Silverstone, couldn't do the last quali run. In Austria, broken floor in quali, electrical problem in the sprint race, did not start, takes his 5th engine, mechanical problem at the pit stop. Spa, hit by Hamilton in the race, damaged car. He was blocked in Q2 at Zandvoort and then eliminated. In Monza, engine problem, 3rd DNF. And then Singapore, engine problem, 4th DNF. In Japan, poor race strategy, losing positions with 2 late pit stops. And then again in Kota, takes his 6th engine, grid penalty, hit by Stroll, damaged car. Well, I mean, that was a big hit. And then last but not least, in Mexico, engine problem and his 5th DNF.
What a joke. And he's
How
11
many ladders
points.
he walked under?
I know. 11 points behind Ocon in the title as well.
Is that all he is? 11 points behind after all of that? Wow.
Yeah, he'd be best of the rest, wouldn't he? Probably without
so.
that. He's been brilliant. He has been brilliant this year. And it is funny because Alonso now has just, I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't care. He's already burnt his bridge with Alpine because he mentioned, obviously, the way he handled his move with Aston Martin and stuff. But yeah, he's very much now in the media being like, oh, it's only ever one car that breaks down and stuff, and saying all this kind of thing, which is quite funny.
I'm going to get absolutely roasted here by the Alonso fans. But do we think that maybe the reason...
His driving style.
Well, do you think maybe he's pushing the car too far and that's why it keeps breaking?
No.
Alonso's too good. He's too quick.
Yeah, he's just...
too magic.
But
yeah.
I really feel for him because it is an absolute joke. And it does always seem to be like almost his side of the garage. I'm not trying to say that there's anything going on behind the scenes before people come at me for that. But yeah, it was funny. Like I said on this podcast before, I live with my brother. He's a huge Alonso fan. He knew instantly as soon as there was that move with Ocon and was it Bottas or something going past? And it was like, Alonso's car's ruined. Like there's something wrong with his car.
100%. I said it as well.
Yeah, he was like, something's wrong.
Alonso
and then
doesn't get past by Bottas.
Bottas doesn't pass anyone.
No. When Bottas overtakes someone, you know that the other car's got a problem.
Oh, no.
It's not far from the truth, is it?
No. But yeah, Alonso, oh God, just such poor luck. He was on to finish best of the rest again, bag a load of points. And
it wouldn't have been Danny
shocking. Rick. Maybe not Danny Rick.
Danny Rick was a beast.
Yeah, but he was on for another
Decent
chunk of points, and so many, like you say, have been taken off him through no fault of his own, and it's just painful because he has been one of the drivers of the season.
And it's really annoying as well. Without these problems, without half of these problems, Tommy would be spending a lot of money on Alpine merch right now for P4 in the championship.
I mean, if it was Alonso,
what's the difference in points?
It's not very much now, is it? Now Danny Rick's got, let's have a look. 7, only 7 behind. How?
Wait, so McLaren are 7 behind
Alpine.
How
is it only 7 points with that car that Alpine have compared to McLaren? Wild. Yeah,
wow.
They've been racing one car essentially, but they always say that like they've been racing one car because Danny Rick's not been there, but I guess it has actually just been Lando versus Ocon a lot of the time because clearly Fernando's car is the one braking all the time. So
yeah, Sad times. Hopefully Fernando Alonso will get a bit more luck. Oh, wait, he's going to Aston Martin next year. Okay, right. Let's move on to our favourite part of the show. It's jingle time. Tommy, have you got the ABCDF1 jingle ready?
I have, and shout out to Miriam, who has sent us this jingle. It is Mexican themed. Love to see it.
Good.
That's what we wanted. Hello, Matt, Tommy, and Katie. Greetings from Mexico. A simple and last-minute addition. I'm not that skilled when it comes to sound mixing, but I want you guys to have a jingle for the Mexican Grand Prix. This is the music for a song that I safely say every Mexican knows. It's called Cielito Lindo. I hope I said that right. The song's main theme is basically sing and don't cry, because singing makes the heart happier, which kind of applies to Matt this year with his Ferrari journey. Hope you have a lovely day, and thank you for all that you do. Right, here we go.
Thank you. Right, let's do it. A,
B,
C,
D,
E, F. A,
B,
C.
D.
E, F.
Lovely.
The one.
I love the
one.
Brilliant.
Thank you. And that was Miriam.
Miriam Sanchez.
Miriam,
Yeah,
thank you very much for that submission. And if you want to get your submission in for the final couple of races this season, get them in. What is
team.
the website?
Podcast,
email?
podcast at WTF1.com.
Send in your jingles for the final two. Well, actually, Tommy's got one to do either for Brazil or Abu Dhabi. So
yes.
maybe it's Abu Dhabi.
That's not actually happening, is it?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
it is.
You promised. You
I want, like,
literally,
a-
you studied music for your degree.
Oh.
You have to use it at some point. You know what I mean?
I know. I did the guitar during the live stream.
No.
So yeah,
Testing.
that's
No,
yeah.
you
that's
promised
all
it on the podcast. You
Did
said
I?
I'd
Yeah.
do one.
Sorry. Okay.
Do it for Abu Dhabi. So you got one chance to submit a podcast jingle for Brazil.
Okay.
But you can have an Abu Dhabi one as well, because Tommy's one's probably going to be done live and it's going to be terrible because he would have forgotten. And then I'll go, Tommy, where's the jingle? And he'll go, oh God, I'll have to do it now. Anyway, right. ABCDF1 time. Let's get into it. Lewis Hamilton. A.
Hey, yeah.
A from us and an A from the fans. George Russell. B.
B.
Boy.
A B from us and a B from the fans. Max Verstappen, A star.
A star.
And
The easiest A star. I mean, there's been a lot of easy A stars, hasn't there, for Max this year. Moving on now to Sergio Perez. A.
yeah.
A.
Hey.
Got a bit mugged off by the slow pit stop as well. He was saying he thinks he could be second without that. So
Yeah, it's difficult to overtake, but I think that's a fair shout. It was, what was it, 5-second pit stop or something? But
Oh,
yeah,
I'd have loved to have seen it. Perez been behind, and then because the whole conversation for the last 40 laps would have been, is Verstappen going to slow down at the line and let him win? Would have been interesting to see.
God,
The
I
answer
would have
was
muted
no.
the television if that was the case. So yeah, A from us and an A from the fans. Charles Leclerc, C.
see.
We have not spoken about Charles Leclerc. Sorry, Matt.
I don't want to.
Now.
There's no point.
Yeah, what a strange race. Never seen a race like that from him, like this year, where even when he's had his mistakes and crashed out or whatever, he's been quick. He's been really quick and stuff. But I know Ferrari weren't in the best of positions, and there's talk of that they had engine troubles and things like that. But I think that's the first race this year, I would say definitely, where Sainz has just beaten him outright on pace. Very strange. Yeah, C.
Yeah, I'm going for a C as well. Just sort of anonymous, really. Apart from his crash in FP2.
And I've just seen that Formula One have actually posted his stats because he had his 100th race this weekend.
Oh, no.
100 starts, 5 wins, 18 pole positions,
Jesus.
7 fastest laps, 23 podiums, and 835 points. It's not the worst, but that pole to win ratio is
mad, isn't it?
quite something. But yeah, very, very poor from Leclerc. I'd have to say this. We don't usually see Sainz outperform him the entire weekend, but that's what happened. So yeah, C from us and a C from the fans. Carlos Sainz, I'm going to give him a B.
Yeah, B.
Yeah, B.
B from us and a B from the fans. Lando Norris,
B.
B. Yes, B.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go for a B.
Okay, a B from us and a B from the fans. Daniel Ricciardo, A.
F.
That's
took
not
out
funny.
Yuki,
Isn't it?
because he took out Yuki.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't give him an A star because of the
No,
Yuki
you
situation.
absolutely cannot give him an A star. I will
I
not
I
allow
know.
it.
I can't give him an A star, but
I'm
I
gonna
will.
get no A, but hi A.
how do you feel that he's been dishing out merch to all the Mercedes guys and
I'm
still not
annoyed.
replied
Still
to
hasn't
the message?
replied to you.
Do you think I should
Oops.
give him a nudge on Instagram
Yeah.
and say
No.
hello? Oh,
No. If he's
You're
not opened that
saying it,
message,
saying
he
it.
I
doesn't
wanted
want
to give
talk
you an
to
A
us.
star. Oh dear.
Hi there. I know you're busy. Could you?
great result by the way. But where the hell's my merch?
Yeah, exactly. Not sure how that would go down. But yes, well done, Daniel Ricciardo. A. And an A from the fans as well. Fernando Alonso.
A. Would have been.
Would have been
an
would
A.
it would have given no, I wouldn't have given an A. B.
Not for where do you think you would have finished 8th?
I think he would have finished 8th, and I would not have given him an A for that, I don't think.
No.
This is what happens when all the top teams finish the race.
I'll go for a B.
You sticking with an A, you
A
fanboy?
B is
Yeah.
still good, I think.
It is. It literally is above average. So well done. B is the definition of good, yeah. So a B from us and a B from the fans, you fanboy, Tommy. Esteban Ocon, B.
B.
Yeah, B.
Oh, you're giving Ocon a B then?
Alonso would have beaten him quite comfortably.
Yeah, B from us and a B from the fans. Pierre Gasly.
D.
Ooh.
When are we? By the way, when are we going to have the conversation about Pierre?
What about it?
His,
What about-
his season has just been awful.
Yeah, it's spiraled.
Yuki is
The
like
goat.
consistently beating him, either having better times in quali, doing better in the race.
I think
Pierre
Gasly's
Gasly's
completely
just
lost
like-
his head now. I think
don't know
he's
what's going on.
so frustrated with everything at AlphaTauri, and he just wants to get out of there. And I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, I can't believe Gasly's the one on this many penalty points, and I can't believe he's this close to a ban because he doesn't seem like a dirty driver." Which I agree, he's not a dirty driver, but I think he's had a very clumsy season with a lot of incidents. So, yeah, he
I
is
feel
where
like
he
if
is.
it was another driver, people would be constantly like, "Oh, look, he's washed. He's at the back. His teammates really beating him." But there's just nobody saying it. I'm not saying we should jump on it and everybody should say it, but he seems to be getting away quite scot-free with the season he's actually having because it's pretty bad.
This is what happens when you're not really anywhere, well, kind of on the skirts of the sort of ninth.
I'm not.
10th
The
sort of
car's not there
position.
either. The car's
No,
not as
it's
good as
not.
it was last year. So the comparison
Yeah.
between 21 and 22 isn't really comparable. But yeah, anyway.
I'm going to give him a C.
Sorry. Yeah. C. No, actually, no D. I
You-
said
you
No, I
would do,
reckon a
yeah.
D. Yeah, I reckon a D.
Really, for an 11th?
Yeah, because his own mistake and the penalty, he should have got points.
Okay. D from us and a C from the fans. Yuki Tsunoda,
D.
C.
B.
B.
Yeah.
Why? Where would he have finished?
Well, had a Daniel Ricciardo. No, he would have got him afterwards, but he was running all right. Had a good
Finished ahead of his
weekend, beat
teammate.
Gasly in qualifying again. Decent.
Okay. All right. B from us and a C from the fans. Sebastian Vettel, Aston Martin were nowhere.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's a good old
C.
C.
Yeah, Aston were anonymous, weren't they? After essentially that they've been flying up the championship table out of nowhere recently, and then just had a shocker. So, yeah,
Not good. Not
Yeah.
good.
C.
Yep. C from us and a C from the fans. Lance Stroll, C.
C.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. C.
C from us and a C from the fans. Nicholas Latifi. This is not even like joking. This is an F.
Mm.
Yeah, it's not even like her banter F. Like he got lapped by his teammate.
Yeah.
Did he get like
50
lost or
seconds off.
something?
Yeah,
He
he
was
was doing,
so
he was doing the
Japan.
Formula E circuit, and they weren't counting his laps because it was
Oh, babe.
wasn't
got
going
yourself
through the
some
sector
Nutella.
times.
God's sake. Oh, it's so sarcastic, isn't it? It's amazing. Yes, Latifi does actually deserve a full-blown F for that. That was shocking. I don't care what tyre strategy he was on. To finish like 55 seconds off the back of 17th is an absolute disgrace.
Did you see the picture that we tweeted, by the way? Well, it was like Sunday before the race, and it was of a fan with a cardboard cutout of a goat with Latifi's head on it, and it had Go Tifi written on it, and he signed it and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, sweet. He looks about 8'4" in this picture. I don't know how small the person is next to him, but he was like, you could put two of her, and it would be the same height as Latifi. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't think Latifi's that tall. I think he's an F1 driver. He can't be.
That's true. Tall, that would be.
So
maybe that's where he's going wrong.
Small fan, but F from us and an F from the fans. Albon, A, B.
Yeah, B.
B, yeah.
I was so unlucky not to get a point. He was really unlucky not to get a point because he was chasing down. I think
he made a mistake, didn't he?
He made a mistake, and it's a shame.
Shame, but still a decent performance. So B from us and a B from the fans. Valtteri Bottas. I am conflicted because I feel like he bottled a very good opportunity for a great result, to be honest.
Can we just talk about how he is the most frustrating driver to watch in history? His quality, I think that race we basically saw Mercedes Bottas of everything that was so frustrating for him. That his qualifying pace is phenomenal, and like say, he could beat Hamilton on his day in qualifying. But the guy's racecraft, he just doesn't have that killer instinct to make an overtake. And it cost him. It was, you're watching him think like where he could have finished if he'd have just been more committed and made overtakes and got through the pack. And he must have lost so much time just sitting behind cars for ages. And then, you know what the Alpha's like in terms of like how easy it is to break down as well. It was very frustrating to watch. Very frustrating to watch, but I think he's saved by his quality performance.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a B. Yeah.
I think that's fair. It's frustrating because I know that Bottas has it in him. Like one of the races of his career was Monza in 2021, where he took the engine penalty, started at the back, and then came all the way through the grid and finished third. And although Verstappen and Hamilton, took each other out in that race, like that was such a good race, and it showed that he can do it. I know Monza might not be the most.
When he's got a ridiculous car
in a Monza,
in Monza, but he must have had to pull some overtaking moves there, and I just get so annoyed because I'm like, with Valtteri, you could have had a really good result there, but. Yeah, I think B is fair.
Alas, it did not happen for Bottas. B from us and a B from the fans. Where are we? I've lost it. Zhou Guan Yu.
I think
quite an anonymous weekend.
I'll go with C. He had a lot of issues with his car that meant that his practice was hampered. So I'm going to go C.
I think
I'll go with
he was 7/10 off his teammate in qualifying. It's quite a big margin. I know, like he's been doing a lot better recently, but that was.
I'm going to go with a C. I feel like D's maybe a little bit too harsh.
Yeah, Tommy.
C from us and a C from the fans. Now we get on to Haas. I don't think I ever saw them in the race. Horrendous.
2021
They are genuinely
Haas.
going to finish 9th, aren't they? They're going to finish 9th in the constructors, which is. Quite ridiculous considering how good they start or how well they started the season. It's going to be a pair of D's for me, for Mick and Kevin.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I know that they probably just didn't have the pace, but also dreadful. Like K-Mag was behind Latifi at one point, which not ideal. So a pair of D's and a pair of C's from the fans. Okay, Mexican Grand Prix predictions. Vettel top 10 in the race. No. Collision in the first 3 laps. Now, was there any any debris?
Nick debris?
Anything?
No, nothing happened.
It was really clean.
51.
It was really clean. Katie, what were your two?
I said both Mercedes in the top 5.
Oh, well done.
Okay. And Bottas best result of the season, so that's a no.
Well,
that was looking like a worldie.
I know.
I
it was just coincidence that at that point I tuned into you guys on Twitch, and you were like, oh, I bet Katie's in the chat being really smug about her Bottas prediction. And it was just at that moment that I logged in and put I am the GOAT or something stupid in the chat. And I was like, oh, okay, no, that doesn't look too good. But yeah, it did look a good start, but
it was a fantastic
alas.
prediction after qualifying, wasn't it? But then again, it would have required a Red Bull or Mercedes or a Ferrari conking out. Tommy, your two, please.
I went for a driver wears a branded Mexican wrestling mask, which didn't happen, I don't think.
It didn't know. There were fans
The
with
fans were,
ones.
I can't believe that.
Mate, you should have just said, where's Mexican
Guan Yu was
wrestling
wearing
mask?
one, but it wasn't branded.
No. Also, the amount of people that tagged me in things because it seemed like a prediction that I would make was amazing. It was like, Katie, 1 point for you. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet, but that wasn't actually my prediction. But thanks anyway.
And I went for Russell involved in another collision, which he did collide with his engineer over what strategy he should have been on. So I think that's half a point.
Wow, that is a big stretch, isn't
That's
it?
a reach.
That's going in the notes for the person that does the prediction
100%.
points. Tommy tries to 0 points for Tommy. Right, the fans. Mega versus Primus. Checo win. No. Mimi Hopi, a new winner. No. Phoenix 84. The FIA has another disaster. No. We've had shockers here. Brazil predictions. Verstappen wins both races. I've gone for, and Stroll outqualifies Vettel.
Woo! Old time's sake.
Let's go.
Lovely. I've gone for a Mercedes win, which I feel like one of us has predicted over the last few races, but Interlagos, another circuit that's maybe a little higher altitude than normal and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see. And then I've said Hamilton is celebrated at the circuit somehow, whether he gets a corner named after him, maybe a grandstand.
Celebrated at the circuit. Are you going to demand half a point when you see one fan in Hamilton merchandise? And you're like, there he is. He's being celebrated.
Well, he got was it like a Brazilian citizenship or something like that earlier this year? And I just feel that maybe they'll do something to make it like a permanent addition.
I nearly went for this, but knew you'd go for it.
Again. That one.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that, when they have their names on the car and then a little flag, I reckon the Mercedes, they're going to put a Brazilian flag next to his name.
But that's not your prediction.
But that's not my prediction. I'm just putting that into the atmosphere. My prediction is there'll be a different sprint winner to the main race. We have got a sprint. And Latifi won't be P20 in quali.
That's bold.
But no, the thing is, but there's a big straight, and that Williams gonna be a bit beefy, don't you? That's what you're saying, right?
But it is Nicholas Latifi at the same time. So
yes. Okay, and that doesn't, by the way, timings. If anyone has a grid
I know what you're
penalty,
going to say. Don't worry.
All right. If someone doesn't go out because they've got a 500 place grid penalty. Oh, damn it. Okay. Fan. Wow, we're always going with Mega versus Primus. Is this the thing, Tommy? Just going to keep going with the same fan?
He just pops up. He's teamed WTF1, so we'll allow it.
Yeah, okay. Mega versus Primus. It's a fan prediction every week. Collision during the sprint. Jones RF 873, Albon in the points, and Dave DeRock, rain. That's what it says.
That's a good shout.
Rain.
I hope that's rain.
At some point. Do we want rain anymore? I don't know.
True, but I just think back to when it was raining in Interlagos and Verstappen delivered that absolute masterclass. That was good.
So what you're saying is we need a Max Verstappen masterclass.
No, actually, I take it back. I hope it's bone dry.
We won't have had one for 2 weeks by then. So
true.
Wrap that cape round your head. Right. Tell me final thoughts.
My final thoughts are shout out to that guy in the NASCAR race, because oh my days, that is the greatest overtake I've ever seen, but also just flat out cheating. And it's allowed for apparently, but yeah, guy in a NASCAR race. If you've ever played when you're like a young kid and you drive at Monaco on the F1 game and you just wall ride around the track. But basically this guy needed to finish in the top few positions and get enough points to go into the kind of championship decider. And it got round to the final corner. It was on an oval, and he just drove into the wall at full speed. And obviously the momentum just took him round the outside of everyone as they had to slow and take the corner properly. And he just made up 5 places and got the points he needed to progress into the shootout. So legendary behavior. And now I'm looking forward to NASCAR, where everyone tries to do it on the last lap. It's
I was going to say,
carnage.
everyone's going to do that now, aren't they? Which is mad. And maybe they'll. Well, actually, no,
Yeah, they're going to have to ban it.
Maybe they ban it, but it's also NASCAR, and they're celebrating it like it's the greatest thing they've ever seen. Does kind of. It's slightly concerning that wall, if it just had a slight indentation or something, where just that car could just come spearing out. But maybe he'd assessed that wall before he did it before the race.
It's like the kind of thing that we said in F1, if you like get a corner cut penalty and it's like a 5-second penalty, but you just cut the whole track on lap 1 and go past everyone, or say there's like a safety car finish and you just go for it and beat everyone, and then you're like, oh, it's only 5 seconds, and then you win. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, it was great.
It was funny.
Lovely stuff. Katie, final thoughts?
My final thoughts is we had Jack Doohan make his F1 weekend debut with Alpine, unfortunately cut a bit short, but a really wholesome story, which I learnt over the weekend, was that Michael Schumacher actually gifted Jack his first go-kart. So we have Michael Schumacher to thank for Jack Doohan being in FP1. I mean, Jack Doohan's dad, Mick, is like the goat of two wheels, Mick Doohan. But he said that, he had a kart gifted to him by Michael Schumacher because he and my dad were quite close friends. They were neighbours in Monaco. So I think he came out early one time to our home. We had a go-kart track there. So he gifted a kart to me and my sister. And so, that's how he got into his love of karting. And then he was doing an FP1 session. So I think that's just quite a nice little wholesome story to end on. And also buy the annual.
And also, yes, you can pre-order the annual and get it before Christmas.
You just reminded me of something. Did you see that Logan Sargent, there's rumours that he missed, because he had the problem in practice, he missed getting the 1 super license point for the session by like 1 lap.
Yeah, it's 4 kilometers. I think,
and obviously he's still not got them yet. So could it be crucial?
Just go out and do 1 lap and then come back in and then swap over. I wanted to question Katie. Mick Doohan, the goat of 2 wheels. Are we disrespecting Valentino Rossi here, or
one of the goats of 2 wheels?
Yeah, we've just opened up a 2-wheel debate on a Formula 1 podcast. This is disgraceful.
Yeah, I love Marc Marquez as well. So there's lots of them. But he has got a lot of MotoGP titles. So.
He does. And my final thoughts are, I'm looking for
to Brazil because it's a banger.
Yeah, I am. Brazil should be an awesome race. That's what I'm hoping for anyway. I know that I've said Verstappen will win both races, but you know what I'm like with my predictions and what I say online and what I put into the atmosphere. So fingers crossed we'll get a crazy race and maybe Sebastian Vettel wins. That's what I'm hoping for.
That.
Yeah, or little Daniel Ricciardo, P2. Who should we go for P3?
Tsunoda wins by 6 laps.
No, I think Latifi gets P3. Just all the drivers that basically aren't racing next year. Right, and that's the penultimate race of those drivers' careers in Formula 1.
Stop saying that.
Yeah, that's quite mad. Right, everybody, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for watching and or listening. And please do give us a 5-star review if you haven't already. Remember, we choose one to read out at the start of the podcast. Thank you as always for all the support. #WTF1 podcast if you want to get involved in the discussion. Pre-order the annual if you fancy it. Katie's doing a lot of work, as are a lot of other people behind the scenes. So make sure you go and check that out. And that is it. We'll see you very soon in 2 weeks' time for the Brazil post-race podcast. Bye.
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 Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
But this goes out tomorrow.
Ooh. Oh, yeah. Happy post-Halloween.
Happy 1st November.
Christmas.
Happy something.